Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer from Founders. So this is the new batch of KBS. This was bottled, last month, sorry. Changed the label, why? I like the old school kind of like a used paper thing, like, compass map and pirate map kind of thing. They changed up the label. I don't like it as much. Yeah, it's way busier. You see the cocoa nibs, you see the coffee and chocolate. It's got all this stuff going on. It has little, like, barely legible script. It says the amazing Cosmickeys, which is the head brewer at Founders. It's got a skull in there randomly. It says barrel age. It's got so much, the original, like, it's so much going on. Like, I don't know why. I like the old school, simple label, but they've pushed forward. This got to be the first year they're using this label, right? Yeah, you guys post in the comments below. Bourbon barrel with premium coffee and chocolate. Bourbon barrels. Notes of vanilla, cocoa, charred oak. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. This is at 12. 12? Is that high? I feel like this beer was generally a little bit under 12, but now we're at 12, which is like in KBS, Bourbon County territory, right? Well, you guys are more well researched than me, or you guys have Google on your phone or computer right now. I'm just doing a straight shot. Pick this guy up. Let's review it. It's probably been a year or two. I don't know if I reviewed last year, but I definitely reviewed it in the last 2 years. So shout out to Founders. I mean, that was Katie and I just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. That was one of our first trips to the 25th year anniversary of Founders. Fun trip, Grand Rapids. Would love to go back. That was a fun time. Thank you so much to Founders for such an amazing time. Flew us out there, lodged us, treated us really well. Like, that's super, super awesome. So one of the best beer experiences I've ever had, or life experiences I've ever had. So beer is very dark, right? I don't remember the head being that dark. Oh yeah. I feel like this beer has gotten darker. Is that possible? Maybe. Have they changed up the recipe? I mean, was the head, I always thought the head was tan. Now we're at like medium to deep tan, right? Like, I always thought it was a little lighter. Like, I don't think this beer used to look like this. Anyway, who knows? Smells like KBS. That's KBS. I mean, what makes KBS KBS? There's a really rich kind of like sharp coffee note, not that kind of like rounded thing. I mean, man, why Bourbon County doesn't do the coffee variant every year? It's insane. I mean, that's literally probably like one of, if not the best, variants. Like, obviously they do the fun ones. The one-offs are really cool, but like man, I miss Bourbon County coffee. Jeez. Anyway, this is definitely different. It's just like, there's a sharpness that KBS has that's like quite noticeable. There's like a boozy aromatic kind of like bourbon note, but it's like wrapped around with like chocolate and coffee. So it has this like, I mean, people probably better versed can describe it better. But for me, I feel like compared to other beers, the toned up quality of the coffee and the bourbon separates this beer. It's, what was it? Weyerbacher's Morning, whatever. That beer I thought was like better, but like that was like years ago. There are very few beers that hold up to KBS and what KBS does, and like it's just, that's KBS. Like it's got vanilla, it's got charred oak, it's got this like deep chocolate thing. There's a little bit of like hint of dark fruit, but like all that fun dark fruit stuff that like Bourbon County does, it doesn't even like push there. It wants all those high notes sitting in there. So it's like the coffee and the bourbon shine. And I think that's in the wood. There's a woodiness, a charred character. And those are the top 3 elements that really sell me KBS. Like, full blind, I'd be able to ideally guess this beer. Again, not the biggest beer, at least not the most luxurious beer on the palate. It follows the nose. It really sings on high notes instead of like relying on sticky sweetness, mouthfeel. It's a dry beer. Wow. At least this batch is. I've had batches where like, if aged it in and has a really nice integration. This is hot and fresh. Bright espresso up front. Really nice kind of milk chocolate flavor. Good chocolate notes driving through. Big smack of like this drying bourbon note. Booze hits. A little bit dry and thin. You get a little bit of that charred oak, that tannin quality on the back end, along with the espresso, along with the alcohol. It's not a lingering beer. Sort of like when you have Bourbon County again, sorry for the analogy. It's sort of like the two most popular bourbon barrel aged stouts I can talk about. So when you drink Bourbon County, there's like a stickiness that leaves on your lips and tongue, and it sort of sits there and going like this. Here, I'm doing that right now. I have no residual sweetness. Like, no, like it's almost like sugar chapstick when you have Bourbon County. Here, it's dry. There's an intense dryness to it. There's a booziness. I feel I've had better vintages where it's a more integrated product. Here, despite it looking darker and all that fun stuff, it really is thin and boozy. It is not the worst. The worst versions, in my opinion, are like people brewing beers that are just like, oh, this is my straight imperial stout, and I'm just throwing it in barrels, and like you get a really unbalanced product, or not properly balanced product, where again the worst version tastes like literally just poured a shot of bourbon in an imperial stout, which I've done experiments of, and you can, I'll post a video ideally if I can remember. But this leans on that edge. It definitely is not the integration. Bourbon County is, in my mind, the integration is just like a beautiful masterpiece of that beer. Like the integration of bourbon into that beer and how big and intense that beer is and how it holds up to the barrel so well executed. Here, you get adjuncts in here, and the stout doesn't really hold up well to the barrel, and it's like dry, and the impression is intense. It's just like the aromatics. It punches you. Espresso, bourbon, coffee. It's just chocolate, and it's like really intense up front, and you just want it to linger longer, where it moves onto the desserty qualities, because that's the beautiful thing about bourbon. Bourbon barrels. You get this like coffee, vanilla, and then like this lengthening that makes you think of like chocolate cake and brownies, and like you get this really ganache and all these like really rich desserty profiles. Instead, you're left with like an aperitif kind of thing, or digestif kind of thing, like end of your meal kind of thing. It's desserty up front, but then it dries out. It has this kind of like again, what you get with like digestifs, like Amaros, like it's a bitter, dry, blah blah. Like it goes away. You know, there's sweetness and all that fun stuff up front, but it goes away. It's sort of what this does. So this would actually be a pretty nice kind of instead of espresso at the end of a meal. This would be perfect. Yeah, it sort of like sharpens and just like, all right, I've had a meal. I'm cutting it off, and the booze and all that stuff is going to just finish my meal off. Instead of big rich dessert, that's your digestif. It's boozy, it's sharp, intense, finish your meal clean. And that's the best thing it does. But for me, again, I'm the guy that wants the whole total package, right? I want the desserty. If I'm going to drink 12%, I want it to punch you and hit you and get you on the sweetness and the intensity and the full experience, the whole roller coaster, right? Here you sort of get the, what's a better analogy? I don't know. You get the roller coaster ride with like, full intense experience. Here you sort of get a like cheapened version of a roller coaster. Maybe one of those 3D thingies where you sit on the chair and just moves around. You don't get a whole roller coaster experience. I don't know, whatever. But it is up front, hits you in the face, and it does its job. So don't like the label change, but it's still a fantastic beer. As for rating, not my favorite vintage, but very tasty. Vanilla definitely rides in here too as it warms up, but still dry, burnt. Like, I want more richness to this beer. 90 impressions there. 93. That is Founders KBS. I mean, that is still an amazing beer. Just want more. Maybe I'm greedy. I expect more from KBS, especially some vintages, especially some aged ones. Maybe do some crazy stuff. Until next time, guys, cheers. That is KBS. Founders, post some comments below about what you think. Later.